Okay.
Hello, everybody. We had a few problems, technical problems, and we had to troubleshoot. So we're slightly late. We are here. I'm here with Jay Clayton, who has to go on with her story, with the story of her life, because she had to. Uh,
Because it's so long.
yes. Now I think you had to go on from the 70s or the 80s.
Oh God, yeah. Well, I don't remember where we left off, but uh, I will. Let's just say that I'm in New York now. I think I might have talked about the lofts a little bit. Like some people don't understand that whole loft scene. Um, uh, but anyway, I think I might have said that how I found my loft in the first place. I was doing office work. I got to New York and I, I I graduated from college, but I didn't want to take a job of teaching in high school. I didn't want that responsibility because I wanted to hang out and do my work, do my singing. So I got an office temp job. Oh my God, there's a wasp in here. Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh
Deesh.
my God, today is really a funny day. First the technical problems and now the wasp. What's the matter? And also, we weren't able to invite Tiziana Giglioni in with all these problems because
Oh, I
we
know.
wanted to invite her in at the end of your interview.
Well, let's just say this. I will carry on with my long life. And I
Yes.
want to explain that. I mean, the only reason well, it's always interesting to find how people's history, know, and hopefully that young singers can, I'm getting an echo, doggone it. Young singers can just see what's happening in their life. But the bottom line was that I'm in New York. I discovered the lofts where you could play music late at night and I could have sessions, which I always recommend. And I know that I put that in my book. It's like you got to work on the music other than by yourself, of course. You got to practice. And so I was lucky enough to find this loft in what is now called Soho. And of course, I don't know who's out there yet. Probably, I don't know if but ask any questions at any time about it. But the point was that I think I did speak of the fact that I was doing the standards, of course, but I happened to be in New York when free jazz started. When the instrumentalists said, it's we don't want to read music, and it was a very emotional time. If you could look at the history of what's happening in the world, it probably had to do with that in retrospect. But anyway, so we did these sessions, and that's where I learned improvisation. Just live. Just take a chance and do it. And how I connect that with today is that, well, there's still sessions. Don't get me wrong. There's still sessions, but now there's open mics and things. Uh, but for me, that was my learning ground. And then later on, I don't know if I'm sorry. I should have, but I didn't want to look at my last interview. I should have. Then I would know what I said. Excuse me if I'm repeating myself. But what I found when people ask me if I teach, I said no because I didn't. Nobody taught me. And that's when, since I had this loft, that's when I started to set up make workshops. So in other words, there weren't as many sessions, and for the younger, there's not so many sessions like that. I mean, they are different than today. So I tried to bring that. I always call it bringing the street into the classroom. In other words, theoretically, I learned in the streets. In other words, I just had to go hang out and do all that stuff. But I just decided that I would help organize. So I organize workshops, and we're doing the same thing. We're just working on the music. So for me, truthfully, the '70s is a big important chunk of my life. It was when I started to meet musicians, performing in the loft, then starting to perform in other places. I think that decade was the most developmental about standards free, writing new pieces. One of my so-called famous pieces is Random Mondays, which you can find recorded on my first album of my in my name was around 79, called All Out. You have it? I can't remember if
I
you
have
have it.
it.
I know you have a lot of my stuff, but it's out on CD now, but only in Japan. So it's very
Well,
expensive.
I think you burnt it for me.
But I think I burned
I
it because
shouldn't be saying this, but
I do. I share my music.
you burnt it because it was not around anymore. You burnt a
Right.
couple of C
I
or
put it.
three.
I put it in my iTunes. I'm so high tech, and I can burn it. I still can burn it. Probably should burn. I'm going to try to see if Sunnyside. I have many of my CDs on Sunnyside, and he's been Francois Zalacan has just been so great for me. He's way on my team. You know what I mean? He heard it from the very first of with Fred Hirsch, and from then on. And thank you. I know he's not watching, but if he were, I always thank him because he believes in me, and he puts every in. Me, I'm very eclectic, but all
Yes.
of those, yeah. In other words, standards, and then he put out the solo one. He just keeps doing it. So I appreciate it. But anyway, this Random Mondays goes a long way. It's like, because I keep trying to write things that are easy to jump into. Like if I go to Europe and I meet some, I don't always play with people I know. I always have somebody I know over there because I've been coming a long time. Anyway, I only thought of it because in the 70s, I had my kids in the 70s. People ask me about that too. I've had young musicians say, "Oh, boy, should I have kids?" Well, kids is it's part of life,
Yeah.
So for me, I always you did it too. In other words, and I digress, but that's what I'm going to do. Unless you just ask me a question, get me
Of
on track.
course. It's a chat. We're talking. It's beautiful
Yeah,
because you are digressing. It's nothing.
I thought of it because um, my kids were born in 71 and 72, so all through, even with those loft concerts, I remember Dove, the older one. He was 2 months old, and I was singing in my loft, and somebody was holding him in the back, and uh, and I heard him cry. So I didn't stop making music, but I have to say, I did make the arrangement shorter because I'm a mother. But getting back to Random Mondays, I believe it was Mondays when the kids went off. In other words, I always had on Mondays a couple of hours.
Yeah.
That was my time. And that's when I came up with this piece. That's why I don't know how many people I've told that. That's why it's called Random Mondays, because it just happened to be on that Monday that I was able to write that piece. But anyway, so the 70s were rich for me. There was a lot of the music came in, a lot of vamps, like the Latin jazz started to happen more, so that influence, and I loved soloing on those kind of amps, and I probably got a lot of my early gigs then. There were other lofts where people were doing this, um, but anyway, that's my story for the 70s, and I I I've been archiving. I told you, I wish you could come here, Eva. Somebody help me with this. And I do have a little bin of 70s and photos and everything, but again, I mentioned this before. I think in the jazz history books, there's not a whole lot about that. I don't think, you correct me if I'm wrong, there's not a whole lot about that free movement. And I think it should be more in the schools. And some of us are doing it. Like I always, I would do free workshops where I still can do that on Zoom.
I
Um,
love that. I love that because it's such an important part, to develop.
well, yes, because what I found is, you know what I did? I found, oh God, yesterday I have all the everybody has all these CDs, right? But I have all these CDs and DVDs that are live performances. And I found a workshop, Ava. One of the I think it was the first workshop. What was it? What was it? Vivaldi? Where did you? What was the name of the university?
It was the
One of them.
Vivaldi.
Yeah,
I was head of the voice courses there.
yeah. I think we did a workshop, and I found a DVD.
Yes.
And then I found, yeah, there, and then later somebody videotaped too. But I remember we did the 410 and we did the blues
Yes.
collage, and anyway, I don't know what I'm talking. I'm rambling on about this whole business of teaching. So I thought I'd touch on that a little bit today, like, about how did I do it? Well, I make this environment. So in that case, that's where I created a lot of my free structured improvs and things that I do. I perform them with instrumentalists as well, but I would discover them doing a workshop, I'm still
Yeah.
start to come up with new things. And why? Well, I think singing uh, I think singing free, it doesn't mean you have to go out and perform that, but I think that when singers take these workshops, it opens them up. I think it opens you up. I think it opens, and I didn't know that. It's only in retrospect. I just was doing what I love and what I believed in, and it's like what are you doing? Well, you're connecting with yourself. You're connecting. I believe
Yes, it's true.
I believe that in these, when I get at first, it's a little self conscious because you have no song to fall back on, right?
Yes, you just have to let yourself go. And before you get that freedom,
Right,
takes a while.
right. And so what? So you're composing really, and
Yes.
that's what I keep. The more I teach, the more it's confirmed that is what's happening, and it opens your ears. Oh, I got to write this down. It opens your ears and it opens your heart
You
because
don't need to write it down because this
because
is
I
going
probably
to
repeat myself anyway.
you can listen to it, your whole life through. So this is good because you will be able to re-listen.
Yeah, I was just, I told, I was talking to somebody the other day and about interviews, and I said, "Oh man, there's this beautiful singer in Italy, and she wanted to interview me." And then one day, we were in a living room. Remember, we were in a living room. Her living. She said, "Is this a good time?" You said, "Is this a good time to interview
Yeah.
you?" Because sometimes it's not. Sometimes you don't feel like talking about yourself.
Yeah.
But I said, "Okay." Well, I was relaxed, have a little cup of tea. And you said, well, how did it all
how
start? That's
how
all
did
you,
it all begin?
yeah.
Well, how did it start?
And I talked for an hour. And
More.
I swear I just was on a
More.
roll, and I like now
More
I'm
than
not.
1 hour.
Yeah, it was probably more because you transcribed it.
I think we went on for about a couple of hours.
God. And I just started to remember what those things, I just started to remember. Anyway, for anybody listening if you ever get bored someday, it's on my website under interview. That whole thing, I just, it's posted on my website, jayclayton.com. If you ever want to read and see, you might pick up something I did and you want to do it. That's how it is. I mean, getting back to teaching, it's like you can only teach what you know. The more we hand it down, it's something you hand down. Like everybody, if the more experienced help the less experienced,
Yeah.
and it just keeps going on. And I love that. I also, yeah, I also did a workshop in Rome. It might have been last year or 2 years ago, and it there's a video of that. Maybe you found it. I don't remember. Somebody found it on
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 YouTube?
YouTube. Yeah. I didn't even know it existed. And now I have it. Now I have it. And in other words, there's some things that I believe that I did say. I said it right on that thing. It's a good thing. I watched it. It's a good thing I agreed with myself. You know what I mean, from last year.
Yeah, I do.
But it was anyway for me. It's always it's exciting when people are interested. The singers are you're interested in doing it. But again, it's I kept questioning why was I doing that? Why nobody's going to make a whole lot of money singing this more improvisational stuff. But I know if you can get serious with it and you really love it, it taps into who you are.
It does.
Or not. If you're flip about it and you're too self-conscious, because we're always a little self-conscious. But if not, at its best, we're just composing on the spot. That's it.
Of course.
But what's inside, and it's about feelings. It's I don't know which ones. We don't make it up. It's there. You tap into it or you don't. You can't. That's your life. That's who you are. And if you become shy, you won't do it. But I know what I was thinking. And I don't remember what I said last time. But again, how does that relate to standards? Because when you're singing a standard, a lot of times some singers choose standards that don't ever go inside too far.
Yeah.
They're afraid to show that. They do lighter kind of things. But I think, I'm always trying to justify my teaching. But I think that when you get in a free environment, if you finally get it and you get that one moment where, wow, you start to make music, you're not trying even, you're tapped in, that same thing will transfer when you're actually doing it too. That's more literal. It's more literal, but you really do tell the story. That's what I always say. It's like you can sing a tune, and just the tune itself already sings itself, so you don't even hardly have to be there.
Yeah.
But when you are there, because you chose that tune that you connected with, everybody knows that, but they don't know why. But everybody, oh my God, I think it was. Oh God, I keep during this time I have a lot of time to. I think did we talk about Bill Evans last time? It's like I watched interviews of these great artists, and I collect these. Let me find I'm just going to find something.
Okay.
I collect. Here it is. So a lot of these guys, these great artists, they're saying the same thing. You know what I mean? I love the way they say it about that whole business of connecting. And it's like you did it, and you don't remember what you did. It was because you were still in the moment. Yeah. Am I saying anything? I think I am. I think I'm saying something.
Well, I was
sorry. I got a little discombobulated a little bit too, but.
I was about to say the same thing. Once you are doing some free music and you get into that also goes into your standards.
That's why I do both. That's why
and it's wonderful because it gives you such a freedom, and you're not afraid to express yourself more.
Well, there it is. You said you're not afraid.
By adding sounds and doing different things, during this time. Yeah.
But guess what? It goes. Here's what I think the other way. In other words, I have had singers come to me that only want to sing. It's free. They get fascinated by it, but they don't want to do the standards. And that's okay. I mean, I do, but for me, the way it goes the other way is that the standards teaches you time, clarity about the lyric, harmony. You get the harmony inside, even if you. And so, if you're singing free and you didn't do any of that stuff, then you're not going to do. You're not going to improvise great melodies, or you're not going to. So that's good. You won't necessarily have a good time.
True.
Right. That's why I do both. I really do both. But God, who was it? But I was just talking about the time when you get so connected that you're not doing it anymore. It's just flowing. We talk
Flowing.
about flow, and I just found this. This is my latest. I'm a quote freak.
Yes.
Well, this is Dave Brubeck. He said, "There's a time when you're beyond yourself, better than your better than your technique, and better than your usual ideas." I thought that was so. I just discovered that. In other words, because we have our typical things we do, but sometimes the music takes over, and that's where you have to trust it. But the preparation for that is knowing what, like if you're doing a song or whatever, you got to really know it. I thought about this too in one of my standard things.
Well,
A lot
you
of times
always told us
you don't know the
that
tune.
we have to know the tune as it's written on
Yeah, but I mean,
the.
you have to
And
really
then you
know
can
that
improvise.
song. No thinking about it. No
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah.
And it's very hard because you can read it and sing it. But for me, you got to get beyond that. Then you
It
have to
has to
get
be
beyond.
all inside you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
And
don't have
two,
to be looking at paper, reading. It has to be all. You have to know it very well.
right, right. And so no matter how long I teach, I keep helping people do it. Memorizing is hard for some singers. A lot of singers memorizing the
Well,
words, not the melody. We get the melody.
but the
Um,
words, but sometimes I do have when when I'm on stage, I do have that that whole. I mean, I'm singing and all of a sudden I go, oops, but I just put other words that have the same meaning. I noticed I do that. Sometimes I do that,
well, I probably said this
but I
before.
never read. I never read. I don't like to read when I'm singing. It has to come.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So I'm going to say this one more time because I keep saying I I see a lot of many wonderful singers or whatever. It's your business, but I'm just saying. And I realize this because I have some young people and they go, well, I put the words up, but I know them, but I put them up just in case. And I don't buy it. I can't buy it. I'm sorry. Because if you know those words are going to be up there, you don't work as hard on the memory. And I'm sorry to say that. I know that to be true. So you just try. I can help. I actually help people memorize. What's wrong with that? Which, in other words, when I first started teaching, I just said, oh, go learn the tune, what, just real flip, go learn the tune, everything. Then I realized that's not a small matter, learning a song. You have to have it played for you. You have to really understand it. You have to memorize the lyrics. So, I mean, the guys used to do that. They used to teach each other songs when they got together, the horn players or instrumentalists. Uh, By the way, I'm going to say this. I got another pet peeve, and everybody has to be careful. We're all between instrumentalists and singers, or singers and musicians. I don't like that. So I'm saying that on every interview. Maybe I already said it. Watch yourself. Be careful, so that we are all musicians or not. I mean, some singers aren't. I'm sorry. Some instrumentalists aren't. That means, what does that mean? That you're a musician. You know a lot about the music. That's fine. But I do have a pet peeve because we're caught in that. That's you know, from years of that. Well, there's singers and there's musicians. So beware, okay? When you say that, go instrumentalist and singer, okay? Don't forget that. Listen to me. You can say Jay said it. Anyway, um, I I don't know exactly how to continue because I mean I don't worry, I talk about myself a lot, but you know my my music history. But again, like in the 70s, I think that's where somehow my two worlds got together, the standards, the free. And how did it get together? Only through singing, only through gigging, only through t- uh, choosing material. Material is very important. Some songs are not good for that. They don't open up, you know. So I'm always searching for material. And I don't know how it happened. It wasn't because I did it with my mind, but I think that truly it was the 70s where that started to all come together through diversified gigs, sometimes free, sometimes not. But mostly when you see my set, you're going to see both probably.
Um, Something just came in. Uh, just a second. Uh, uh, was it on screen?
What's the question?
Did I put something on screen?
It disappeared. It was something was up
Yes,
there.
I took it away because I made a mistake. So a few people wrote. Andreas Schmidt, Anna Gotti, and Mario Fragiacomo say hello.
Yeah.
And Andreas Schmidt just wrote, some weeks ago, I asked Jay and Sheila in a Zoom experiment to say the same song lyrics. Oh, okay, I
I
saw that.
remember. Yeah.
So we can hear their different talking styles. Some other thing I ask students is take the original lyrics, tell them with real meaning, and then again tell the song lyrics in your own words to get even more your connection with the meaning of the story in your words. If Jay would do that here for us, like there will never be another you or something we all know.
So what, you Andreas, you want me to do the same thing again on some tune?
Andreas would like you to. Just a second, because the sentence is a bit. I'm gonna. Uh, okay. Um, like if you take the song "There Will Never Be Another You"
Okay.
or some other song we all know, he's saying, and
Yeah,
you can
no, I
put
think
it
that's a
into
good
your own.
idea. Yeah,
Could you put that into your own words without?
well, it's
That's what
in
he's
other words,
asking.
in other words, I could say the lyrics. Um, this is you're thinking of someone, and I when I that I'm glad he asked because if I'm singing that song, I do it a lot. That happens to be one of my staples. I love the tune. It was one of the early ones that I improvised on. It. I used to start all my gigs with it. My early gigs. I felt comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And then, Andreas, I found the verse, which even made it even more poignant. So here it is. So, and sometimes the verse or the bridge of a song tell the story, the whole thing, what
Yeah,
it's about.
I
Oh
agree.
God. Uh,
The wasp again?
yeah. Let me just say one second. Well, I'm not going to get bit by it. That's okay. Deja, my daughter's not afraid of anything, but I think she took a nap. I don't know. She won't kill it. She puts it in a thing out. Okay, back to
Oh,
Andreas.
that's what
Listen
I
to
do if
this.
I never kill them.
Yeah. So my point is, I think it's a good question. So my point is, there you're thinking of you're singing to somebody. If there's a you in the song, it's not the audience.
No.
Now I could lighten that up and do that. Then I know I'm doing that. I might be talking to the audience, but if it's really that song, here's the verse. This is our last dance together. Tonight soon will be long ago. Now in our moment of now in this moment of parting, this is all I want you to know. There is no bridge to the song, but that verse does that set it up?
Yeah.
And for some reason, years ago, 30, 40, I did see the verse, but I kind of went, sometimes the verses don't work for me, but most of the time they do. But doesn't that say it? So you're talking, there
It
will
does.
be many other nights like this. And I might be with somebody new.
Yeah.
There are many songs to sing, another fall, but there will never be another you. So this is somebody that you really, really treasure. And what I say, when you think you know a song, you got to go that next. I go, did you have a you in mind? A very specific person. Think about it. Most singers don't. I'm talking about, I got a name for this person.
Okay.
And as soon as I'm really singing to that person, I don't have to tell you who it is, somebody in my past. As soon as I'm really singing that song to that person,
Yeah.
I connect. Doesn't mean I sometimes, I'm not perfect. I'm not saying that. I just believe in this. So often, I think it's a good question. You know, um, there may be other lips that I may kiss, but they won't thrill me, not like yours used to do. So, in other words, say it. So that brings me to the connection that I do, and I do it still. And all teachers out there, if you want to know 4102, email me. You do one of my workshops sometime. What 4102 is. There are singers out there that know what 4102 is, and
I know what Fortitude is.
Andreas knows too. But the point is, my latest is usually you improvise over it, or you can do a poem. I say you record a 4102, play it back, and say the lyrics to the standard you're working on. It sets up an atmosphere that you really know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And this is and then this is all then this is where phrasing comes from too. You know, you can't teach phrasing as such. It's not about holding notes. It's not about doing a rhythmic thing, although that's what it sounds like to me sometimes. It's
Yes.
about talking, singing that line, like you talk. Oh shit!
Wasp again?
I'm sorry. Yeah,
Isn't she going out of the window?
a terrible thing to happen when you're on an interview and people
But
are watching
but
you.
do you have to? Is your window open, Jay?
I can't open it. I can't open the
I
screen.
think you should open it a little bit to allow her to
I can't
flee.
open the screen. Okay. All right. I'm gonna just. I'll be okay. I just. I think my daughter. I don't know where she is. Uh,
Oh my goodness.
I'm going to text her. But anyway, what I one of the things I found when in my looking through all these old CDs and stuff is I did talk about phrasing because I didn't even know what that term was years ago. But all that is singing like you talk. You
Yes,
know,
and very often phrasing it is what defines you as a singer.
right? But it does. But it's just like the bottom line is this: if you believe somebody, that they probably have good phrase. If you really believe them, they're not holding on to notes. They're holding on to words. That's to do with that. But that's another thing. So that means you if you think a singer, if you feel singer needs help with the phrasing, what she really needs help with is connecting with the tune. Don't tell her how to phrase. What
Yeah.
she really needs help with is what are you talking about?
Yes.
And who are you talking to?
Because sometimes you get singers like that are singing a tune and they're smiling like that, and the tune is really, really heartbreaking, and you say, well, you know,
Yeah, I mean,
you don't
this is,
you don't feel the connection with the lyrics. There's something wrong there. If somebody is smiling and saying something so sad, how could that be?
yeah. So the bottom line is just,
So maybe
uh,
they are concentrating more on the notes than on the lyrics.
yeah, they are probably, yeah. But again, if it gets back to why you chose a song, you know,
Oh my goodness, this is really a.
let's see.
Oy. There's a wasp. flying around while is being interviewed.
Right.
So I
I'm
guess,
such a baby. Um,
well, I think everybody would feel quite uncomfortable with a wasp flying around.
oh, good.
I mean, I know very few people who would be cool about that.
No, no, but my daughter will get one of those things and put it on a plate. She won't kill it. She'll figure out how to
Yeah,
get it. Yeah.
I don't kill spiders, wasps, and other insects. I get them and I bring them in the garden and then I set them free. I don't like to kill them. But I do kill mosquitoes.
You feel what?
I kill mosquitoes when they bite me.
I know, I know, I
That's the
know.
only insects I kill.
Anyway, I don't want to go on and on. This is not a workshop, but it's a good. It's important to discuss these things, and then somebody hears it, and maybe they try something.
Of
Not
course.
just say the lyrics, but I'll tell you what else. I also think it's important to sing the song without the words. See if you can do that. Do you really know the melody the way
Yeah.
like as if you were a horn player? And that's hard to do too sometimes. I'll see them go songs just but whatever they it goes both ways. So learn the tune. I always wanted to get a button years ago. Ever since I started teaching, I want to get a button that says "Learn the tune." You
You
know,
should have one made for you.
yeah, learn the tune. Tune exclamation point.
By the way, singers, Jay Clayton is, you can email Jay Clayton, and she can do lessons on Zoom. You're doing lessons on Zoom, right, Jay?
Yep.
So singers can email you, and I think you told me you also organize some free stuff classes
Yeah. Yeah. Here. Oh my. See,
for.
yeah. See, my daughter came in. Yeah.
So you're doing some.
Yeah. I think I'm learning a lot on this. Oh my god. I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness!
Oh god, he's a bigger one.
This is a fun interview. I hope she can manage.
I'll pretend it's not happening. Uh, it's a big one. Ava, it's a miracle we're on here, right?
It is because we had so many problems connecting. In fact, I had to change my room, go on another computer. In fact, you see, my background isn't that cool. It's just a door, and I had to, and were problems all the time. And now there's a wasp, but
That's okay.
we're making it.
She'll get it.
I couldn't even make up. See, I'm still. It's okay.
Anyway, I could move on. Again, I think that the 70s was so important. And I'll tell you what, I'll move on to the 80s.
Yes,
On to the 80s.
I think so.
Uh-oh.
Because very soon.
Oh, he's in there. He's in there. Oh, my God. She did it. She did it. Bravo to my wonderful daughter. Yeah, I'm telling you. Anyway, when I'm talking about all this stuff, and please, any singers, please ask me questions. Um, the 80s were Seattle, Washington for me. In other words, the end of the 70s, I was struggling and I had it, Um, it was hard. I'm never sorry for any of this, but I mean, making a living still today, making a living doing your art is not easy, and yet I wouldn't change anything, and don't change anything, and that's my message: is what you love, you follow, you do it. There's always a way, And if you have kids, it's harder, of course, you know. But my point was that by the end of this, I want to tell you, I don't think I spoke about this. People always ask me about just every event is just leads to another, but there are certain things that are significant, and I'll tell you one. Another mentor is Muhal Richard Abrams. If you don't know who he is, he's not with us anymore, but the Chicago Art Ensemble, all the free stuff that came out of Chicago, Muhal was the leader of that. Such a beautiful man, a beautiful artist. And I'm just saying that I thought of it because it was right before I moved out of New York City. And I can remember lying in bed. You know, you get you down every once in a while, whatever the struggle is. But I always get up. Don't get me wrong. And I got a phone call, and it was Muha Richard Abrams. And the thing is, I always respected him. I didn't know him, and I once went to hear him talk. I like hearing jazz musicians talk. I want to know what their philosophy is. You know, he's really, true blue, does his stuff. But he said, don't mix business and music in a way. In other words, and I resonated with that. I was told for years, do all kind of music. You can do more pop music and make some money, and then when you get enough money, you can do your art. But truthfully, I honestly don't think that works. You see, because you have to stay on your track of your art has to. And doing music you don't love and don't connect with, then how are you going to connect? So I never was, and I think I have to say Sheila Jordan and I have that in common. I decided to do office work, to do. So what the way he did it. Anyway, I went to hear him talk, and then he came to hear me in the '70s, the late '70s. I had a gig. I was mostly doing standards, but I had this great little gig every week. And the wonderful Kobe Narita of the Universal Jazz Coalition. I wish she was listening in. I'll digress because she still has, she's in her 90s and still she's always helping the jazz musicians, setting up concerts, promoting whatever. But she got me a gig, and I'll go back one more step. I was working in an office, and I was opening mail for somebody. That was my job. And I see a letter that says the return address is Universal Jazz Coalition. Wow, what was that? I couldn't. I'm just in a day job, and oh my God! So I wrote it down, and I found her, and I called her. What is the Universal Jazz? I'm into jazz. I'm into jazz. I'm into everything. And I met her, and she, I don't know if she knew my music, but she right away we hooked up, and she found this job. It was in a restaurant in Manhattan. It's kind of a plush Japanese thing, big. I had to borrow I had to borrow clothes to do the gig because every weekend I had to wear something nice. And I could choose whoever I want, John Abercrombie, Eddie Gomez, whatever. I'm just thinking of some people. And Muhal came to hear me. He just showed up. So this goes someplace now. I was, wow. And like I say, I wasn't doing like totally free music or anything. All I'm saying is something I did he connected with. And as now we fast forward, I'm lying in my bed, and I get a phone call, and he asked me to do a concert with him at the Public Theater, which was a very important space downtown. Joe Papp had a theater, and after the theater, they would do jazz, and it was a lot of new jazz. And he asked me to be a part of it with
Oh my goodness.
George Lewis, Chico Freeman, uh, um, oh God, J.D. Perrin, Roscoe Mitchell. These are all the big, beautiful, beautiful players, and me, little moi. And only to say, and then I recorded with him. So I don't know if anybody has it. The name of this album is I know I'm going to talk to Andreas for a minute again. I know, Andreas, you must have this, and if you don't, I'll get it to you. It's called Spi Humanisty.
I don't have this.
No, it's Spi Humanisty. Amina Myers
I
called in
must have it.
on it.
It's a must have.
I'm only on a few cuts, but we're talking about
I miss it.
singing free. Okay, just you have to nudge me. I'll burn it. I probably have it someplace I can burn it.
Oh my goodness. I thought I had everything, but I'm
No,
missing
I
that
have
one.
lots of things. Believe me, when I started looking at my archives and all the CDs I did, I'm like, am I crazy? You know, but I learned from every single one of them. And it was significant for me because, first of all, of course, I love the music, but it just made me feel so good to be heard. And that is where I live in that music, creating at the moment with those people who've done it for years. I like to do it with people who've done it, who really do it. You don't. It's like you don't sing a little bit of jazz and a little bit of it. So anyway, that was and I thought of it because it was soon after that when I was invited to teach at Cornish College in Seattle. And again, I'd never been to Seattle. And Cornish College of the Arts, it was had a great, Gary Peacock, Julian Priester, and Jerry Granelli is the one that actually, I think that's how I really, they they called me. And again, Jerry Granelli, I mean, there's a new duo CD. We are so uh, music soulmates. The minute that he heard, we started playing just like that. He didn't even hear me live, and he asked. Anyway, I'm digressing. Uh,
It doesn't matter. That's part of the.
it's more. In other words, how did I get to Cornish? Well, I started teaching in Boulder, Colorado, because the group Oregon, Ralph Chowner, Paul McCandless, and Glenn Moore, and Colin Walcott, who was the percussionist who died also. They were running this. It was a beautiful workshop in Boulder, Colorado. I call it Never Never Land. If you've ever been to Boulder, it's wonderful. And and it was 6 weeks. And I did a lot of anything I wanted, And and the first faculty meeting, Granelli said, um, "You want to do a concert with me and Colin Walcott, the percussionist, just percussionists, and me in a planetarium."
Wow.
So that's what I'm saying. Boom, that was it. And the rest is history. That's why I can do a duo with him. We've been playing for many years. But anyway, because of that, he had started going to Seattle, to Cornish. And then they, can you imagine? They were looking for a vocal jazz teacher. It's unheard of. But Joni Metcalf, a wonderful singer, piano player, had left that. And they actually were looking for him. And so Priester and Jerry said, call Jay Clayton. But that meant move to Seattle. And I'm a converted New Yorker from Ohio. I love New York. And I couldn't imagine living any other place. So I said, let me and they said, you were looking for vocal jazz, you've been recommended. Jim Knapp, fantastic composer, trumpeter. He's on my circle dancing. He's on a couple of CDs of mine. Fantastic musician. He was at the head of the department at the time, and I said, "You mean moved?" Well, I don't know. I said, "How about I come out and do a workshop?" I'd never been there, this was January. So they set up some concerts, and who else was there? Art Landy, fantastic. You know, um, so they set up a little workshop for me, 3 or 4 days, and some concerts with these wonderful musicians. And halfway through that week, I looked around and I'm like, I think I could live like this. Have you ever been, Ava? You got to get to Seattle sometime. You finally made it to New York. I'm glad. Um, but anyway, um, I went out and I thought halfway through, I was like, I sat down with Jim Knapp, have a cup of coffee, and I said, tell me again about this this job, you know. And of course, it's not like they flew me out and paid hundreds. It was a very prestigious school, though, very art and small. And he said, "Well, yeah." He said, "We needed vocal jazz, And it was January, and I said, "When?" He wanted it for the fall, the next fall, and I said, "When do you have to know?" He said, "No, around March, April." So I went back and I asked my kids, who were 9 and 10 at the time, or something like that, and my husband Frank, and they all were into it. I didn't think they would want, they were. And so I took the job thinking I'd do it for a year or two, and I stayed for 20 years. And that's when I started my real collaboration with Granelli, Julian Priester, who had a birthday a few days ago anyway. Fantastic musicians, Gary Peacock, who else was that? Jim Knapp. I mean, and it was a good school. And what I do is and this is again, I'm going to connect this to my latest CD, which is the Ed Neumeister and Fritz Power, because we were teaching together, and I guess one of my middle names is Catalyst. I'm a catalyst because I'd be the one. Why don't we get together and play it? After we were done teaching, they'd come to my studio and we just play. And so, same thing with Jim Knapp and Julian and Jerry and Gary. And anyway, circle dancing came out of that. And the other artists on there were used to be students at Cornish. They played with us. So it was a good school. But again, I'm a collaborator, and I accept it. I just, I just that's what I do. I do too many things, but it's not too many things. I just
No, it's perfect.
Yeah, I know. You say it's yeah, and I'm managing somehow to document it. I just record. I don't know, and I think it's important now. Now I'll speak to some of the younger singers about recording. If there was one thing, I don't regret anything. Everything had its way. This led me to this. This led me to that. And you can't anyway. You can't go back. But if there were one thing I would suggest, and we do now because it's easier. It was so much harder to record then. You had to get a record company and all that. Now you can just do it with your iPhone practically. But I do know artists who recorded sooner. In other words, I it was 1980. By the time I had my own under my own name. But recordings do reach more people. See, I think I probably perform more than anybody in the world because I always made up little performances. But you reach a lot of people. And as a learning thing, and everybody, I know you're all saying, yeah, yeah. As soon as you record, you learn so much and you can move on.
True.
And it makes you concentrate. You know what to focus on. And so
That is so true.
when I teach two things. I think I'm an organizer. So again, I have lots of ideas of what to do to get better at what you're doing. Specific ideas, and everybody's different, all the singers that come to me. But one thing for sure, when we're working on music, it's a repertoire and we plan a set. And when you're planning a set, it's almost like planning a CD. What are the ingredients? And as soon as you start doing that, you go, oh yeah, I need another uptune, or I need this, or I need that. Oh, I do all ballads, blah blah blah. So I do know artists, and I go, well, somehow they got those recordings out, not because somebody paid. Who knows? There's many ways to do it, but today people are doing it because we didn't have iPhones. It wasn't that easy. I had a Wallensack. I had a reel to reel, which I better get those reel to reel tapes out. I'm sure I have something on there, some wonderful musicians, and I'm talking to myself because
Well, but it's interesting. I mean, you should. You should take them out and get the music out.
Well, it's not so much, but I got to digitize it so I can at least listen to it
Of
because
course.
it's going to die. And cassettes too. I didn't realize that I have all these cassettes of performances, and it goes bad, right? It goes bad.
It goes bad. You should really get them, on at least on a CD or digital. You should make it digital.
Yeah, I know. Okay, I'll put it on my list.
And you know
My
what,
to-do
Jay?
list.
It's a 9:15. It's already
Oh,
one
it's almost
hour.
time for this thing to be over with, and I'm. But anyway, I'll talk real fast. In the '80s and '90s, I was out there. The Seattle has a wonderful jazz community. I think I contribute. I started doing, showcases and things, and was a wonderful place to be. And then I got an epiphany,
Tiffany.
pity me. To come back to New York. And I did. I just quit my job and flew back because I like being in New York. But I'm in the country, I'm not in the city all the time. And of course everything's different now. And I just want to speak to anybody listening that just hang in there. We're isolated. We're by ourselves. I hope that thank God for FaceTime and Facebook and Skype. To stay in touch with people. It's a scary thing we're in now, but the one thing we can do is look inside and go, what's wrong with this? What can I do? Can't say you don't have time. Although I'm very busy. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And somebody else wrote, I don't know whose quote this was, says, if you say you don't have time for something, it usually means you don't want to do it.
Yeah, true.
It could be. You think so. So get it off, change. Anyway, any other questions? Because, yeah, I think we're nearing the end of this talk. I appreciate anybody that's out there. I'm sure there's a couple people I know. Somebody just texted me they didn't know how to get on, but um, they couldn't get it. But
Well, they will be able to see, uh, to watch it.
how
Uh,
do they do that if they want to watch it again?
well, first of all, as soon as the interview is through, I'm going to go on my page, on my Facebook account, and tag you, so all your friends will be able to watch it from
Okay.
your profile, and then I'm going to download it and upload it to YouTube. So it will
Okay.
also be available on YouTube, like your other part one interview. This is part two.
Well, thank you, Ava, for your interest. You've always been a great supporter of me and my music, and
Yes,
I look forward to.
absolutely.
I should have been there in May. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, didn't. That's okay. I'll be there. I'll come to Germany too. When this is passed, just
Oh my goodness! I hope we can see you soon, Jay.
be patient, everybody. That's all. I'm talking to myself again too.
And singers, go go on Jay's Facebook profile. Contact her.
You,
Take a one-to-one lesson or a group lesson.
yeah,
It's gonna be fun.
just email me if you have questions. I'm pretty good at it.
Well, they can also text you on Facebook Messenger.
Yeah. See,
Yeah, and then
I'm
you can give
easy
them
to
your
get a hold
email,
of.
because what if they don't have your email? You have to give it to them from Facebook. So
No,
anybody who wants to contact Jay, they can contact her through Facebook Messenger, and she will tell you what to do in order to have, to follow a lesson with her, or a group, maybe a scat group or a free group or whatever.
yes, I'm easy to find. Thank you all for listening, and thank you, Ava, so much.
Oh, thank you, Jay. It's always such a great pleasure, and it's wonderful to be listening to all these stories, and they're inspiring. And tonight you also spoke about, I think singers could love the part where you talk when you where you were speaking about lyrics, how you connect to them, and you know that's very important.
Anytime. Thank you so much. I'll say
You're
good.
welcome. And thank you, everybody, for being with us until now. Here, many people you know, wrote comments. You are going to be able to see them after we finish because I can't even reply from here. We are on StreamYard. We're not on Facebook. See? So now we're going to say goodbye to everybody. Please
Talk,
stay with me. Stay
talk
with
to
me.
you soon. I'll stay here. Okay.
You stay. We just say hello to Facebook. We're exiting Facebook now. Thank you, everybody, for being with us.